Hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of the SBP Podcast. My name is Linda Daramola and I'm the moderator for today's discussion. Today we'll be talking about how global FMCG brands are faring in the age of trade nationalism. Over recent years, we've seen customers shift their focus from global brands to local brands, with the slogan "Buy Local" going very trendy. We've also seen tariff volatility as well as a growth in nationalist sentiments. And this brings us to the point of asking, how can FMCG brands rethink their strategies to ensure that they continue to connect with their customers? And of course, we have to look at if they can continue to dominate in this age of trade nationalism, or if the local champions are going to gain an upper hand and get more consumers. To have this discussion, I have the honor of having two seasoned experts with me today. The first is our very own MO, Marvis Oduogu, who is a managing associate at Strain & Blanc Partners and also the team lead of the FMCG sector. Welcome to the podcast today, sir.
Thank you for having me.
It's our pleasure
a delight
to
be
have
here.
Yes, sir. And we also have another professional with us today, and he is a senior associate at Strain & Blanc Partners and also the deputy team lead of our FMCG sector. Welcome today, sir, Chibudike Anene.
It's my pleasure. Thank you.
Yes, sir. So let's dive right into it. The first question is to you, Marvis. To start us off, can you tell us what exactly is trade nationalism and how you would define it in practical terms for FMCG brands?
Thank you. First of all, there is no better time to discuss the issue of trade nationalism and how it affects both global brands as well as the local brand. Trade nationalism is a concept that many governments has come up with to protect local production, encourage local manufacturers and entrepreneurs, and then to promote the distribution and the manufacture of products in the local field. So that is how trade nationalism has come in. And this comes in place, by the use of tariffs, comes in place by the use of import tariffs and the use of laws. We've seen laws where we have indigenization policy and some other laws that are used to protect local production. This, on the other hand, has been, one of the major challenges for global brands that we've seen around. So I think this, the underpinning knowledge about it, or the rationale behind trade nationalism, is to promote local brands, to promote ingenuity, to promote creativity, and to promote innovation. That's pretty much I can say for now.
Thank you very much, sir. So, to you, Chibudike, if it is that important, just like you said, it's going to promote a lot of local creativity and manufacturing, why do you think it has become such a trend in recent times?
Okay, thank you. So trade nationalism did not start today. You really think about it, every nation prioritizes its own indigenous companies over persons who are perceived as outsiders, right? Even in Nigeria, I think there was a time that it was during the Buhari administration where our borders were shut, and they said they were trying to encourage local producers to, meet the demands of the Nigerian citizens, right? So that was in 2019. As far back as 2018 as well, when President Trump was in his office, I think it was the third year of his first tenure, he hit the Chinese government as China with trade tariffs, and they came back at him with some tariffs, and it became a whole thing. So I think why is, a topic for debate now, and why is at the forefront, is because Trump got back into office and kind of picked off where he stopped. I mean, the Biden era did not change anything. They left the tariffs as they were, right? And then Trump got back into office and started raising tariffs, and people are perceiving it as is being kind of a power struggle, right? Because if you think about it, the two biggest countries by trade volume is the US and China. So while US does about 7 trillion in trades yearly, right? China is in about close to that, about 6 point something trillion, right? So it's a huge deal because the two biggest countries are battling and hitting each other with tariffs, and that's got everybody talking, right? But I think the core idea of trade nationalism has always been in existence, which is that governments tend to want to push out their own local brands and have them, export their products out there or meet the local demand before prioritizing other persons coming into the country. So that's a bit of a background as to why it's trending now, even though it's been in existence for some time.
Thank you very much for your insightful response. Marvis, if it is becoming such a trend now, like both of you have said, what will you say is the effect of trade nationalism on the global economy?
The effect of trade nationalism on global economy is limitless. It's limitless when you start looking at limitations placed on efficiency. That's one of the effects. We start looking at fragmented supply chain. So the global brands might have a particular source from where they bring their raw materials, their packaging equipment, and all they need. But once trade nationalism is put in place, you find out that the global brand are pushed to the world extreme corner and they start looking for other alternative sources, and that leads to fragmented supply chain sources. And then it leads to also consumer price rise in consumer goods, because most of the time, once the global brand are pushed to move this, look out for or to outsource or to look for other sources of bringing in the materials with which they make production possible and also distribution, it forces them to either incur that cost themselves and thereby bring down the margin, the profit margin, or they as well push it back to the consumer themselves. So it brings that also. And the ripple effect of that is that it leads to inflation. When the consumer prices rises, then inflation in the community and in the economy, rises, and the prices of goods go high. You also see the exit of these global brands. We've seen in recent time movement of global brands, even from Nigeria, in the West Africa, even in Africa, and they resort to more like an indirect, sort of participation in the economy. This as a result of the trade, nationalism that we've seen in playing out today. Then you also see the effect, what I call lip service to treaties. So countries are in haste to go into treaties. So we have a trade treaty. We have the AFTAC is there, the African and Continental Free Trade Area, and many other treaties like bilateral agreements. But you find out that when it comes, or when push comes to shove, you see companies, they are not very pushy to honor those treaties. You find them participating in what I call political populism. Political populism in the sense that a politician gunning for a government seat promises the masses and local manufacturers, I'm going to promote your businesses when I come up, and getting there in order to fulfill those promises, he's going to bring in the principle, the policy of trade nationalism. It also has an effect on the economic side of things, because when you talk of FX, it brings reduction in FX too. That may be a long-term effect, but it is also, you can directly link it to what trade nationalism can bring. And then for me, it also brings mediocrity, because once the locals know that we don't have any competitor, who is a global brand and who brings in a more diversified idea to what I produce, then the local manufacturer becomes a local champion, and then shuts the market and tries even to not just dominate the market but monopolize the market. So these are some of the effects of what we see that trade nationalism brings in.
Thank you very much for that response, because it's very key. Monopoly by local brands is a very key concern of trade nationalism, because then people won't know what is really happening, the kind of innovations that are happening in other places, and they're just focused on what the local brands can offer them, and they make do with that. So that is a very key one. So to you, Chibudike, can you just tell us what will we say a global brand is? Like, how do we spot one? Because, we are talking about them exiting the market and things like that. So what exactly is a local brand, a global brand?
Okay, so I'll start by giving you an example, right? So, and one that comes to mind is Coca-Cola. So the Coca-Cola company produces Coca-Cola, Coke, the mineral products, whatever is soda, the sub-carbonated drinks, right? And the company itself is based in the US. That's where it started from. I think John Pemberton in the early 1800s or thereabouts came about the first bottle of Coke. But across countries in the world, you go there and you see a Coke bottle, right? That Coke bottle itself, it tells you that this is a global brand. It's recognizable anywhere. So the idea of a global brand is it's a company, usually they are multinational, so they may exist in several companies, several countries at the same time, but they've built a brand that is supported by their intellectual property rights. So they have trademarks, copyrights, patents where they're applicable, trade secrets, trade design, and what have you, right? And they register this across countries, across the world. The intent is that I'm not just producing to meet local demand. I'm not just producing for people in the US, for instance. I'm supplying people across the world. So that's a global brand. So Coke is a primary example, but there are other persons, you can have Nestle, for instance, Procter and Gamble, Unilever. These persons, they started in one country, and then by the time, ships were invented, right? Because that's the significant milestone. Before you couldn't even think of. The greatest example we had was like this Silk Road. And that was because there was contiguous land between those zones, right? So they can easily move from one end to the other. But by the time ships came into the limelight, people started shipping products across the sea to various countries, right? So if you're a global brand, you're producing not just to meet this demand or wherever you're at the particular time in the particular country, but to supply customers across the world. And then you also do the necessary legal backings to ensure that nobody copies you or takes advantage of your brand, right? So that's how I would explain it.
Thank you very much. So a global brand is a local brand that has decided to have a global footprint. So local going global. Thank you. And speaking of legal hurdles, can you tell us some of the legal and regulatory hurdles that global brands have to face?
Okay, so apart from the obvious one, which is the tariff that we are discussing in this podcast, the thing is, when you come to FMCG, that's fast-moving consumer goods, the profit they make tends to be from having a high turnover, right? So it's usually in relation to the amount of products that you can sell at a particular time, right? So I think I read somewhere that Coca-Cola has like over 1 billion servings a day, right? And that's how they translate it to be such a profitable company, right? So, but for you to do that, one, if you're moving into a new country, there are existing regulations that are there. We'll start with your intellectual property rights, for instance, right? Trademarks are largely territorial, which means that if you register a trademark in the US, it doesn't become immediately applicable in Nigeria, for instance. So you register in US, have to register in Nigeria, have to register in China, and the rest of it. Because if you fail to register and it's a first to file kind of system, then somebody else will go there and register your mark, and then you have to battle with that person when you come into that country, right? So this is one of the primary concerns that global brands face, safeguarding their intellectual property rights. Right, so if you cross that hurdle, then there's a supply chain, because obviously you have to ship your product from, you're in China, for instance, you have to ship your product from China to Ghana, and you have to meet the right people, draft up contracts that protects your end, because it's a business decision, right? You don't want to just meet a random person and give them your goods and tell them to ship it across the sea. What guarantees do you have, right? So you have to find established persons, go into contracts with them that ensure that if something happens, you're covered, right? Then there's the issue of people in certain countries preferring local brands, right? You mentioned it when you were doing the introduction. There was a time that it was very popular, buy Nigeria to grow Nigeria, right? And the idea is you patronize local brands, then they will grow to become foreign brands. That's the dream, right? And then foreign brands are now seen as invaders. People are coming to take advantage of our resources, So there's the legal consideration, then you have to think about what type of investment do I want to do, coming into a country, because there are various options available to you. You can either do like an indirect trade, which is where you just do like an import only model, which is you just send your products over, you don't have any existing presence in the country, right? And some persons will fight you on that. So depending on the country that you're going to, some countries will say, would much rather prefer if you come here and have a company here so that you can employ persons in our country and you can all benefit from the money that you're taking, right? So it's something to consider, right? Then you have to consider, you get into a country, apart from intellectual property rights, what other compliance measures exist that you have so that you're not found wanting. You don't want to step on somebody's toes without intending to, and then the next thing that you know, you're being hit with lots and lots of money. I think that happened to one of the companies that we were just discussing, right? And some other companies as well, with competition law and consumer protection and what have you. So there are a lot of facets to it, right? And the truth is, if you're considering either expanding globally or already a global brand, then it helps to have, legal advice from persons there that will tell you in the various countries that will tell you, okay, this is what you have to comply with coming in, and it will help you to navigate this water so you don't get into trouble, right? So you have legal, you have consumer, you have competition laws and the rest of them, but these are just a couple I can think of off the top of my head.
Thank you so much. So my next question is to Marvis, and he has already mentioned quite a number of legal and regulatory hurdles that brands have to face anytime they want to enter into new markets. So what would you say are strategic approaches that they can adopt to ensure that they stay resilient regardless of the atmosphere in the particular market they're trying to break into?
Okay, beautiful. May I just add a bit that one of the legal hurdles that global brands will always face in recent time is the issue of privacy and data protection. We've had issues of consumers reporting global brands that make use of pictures and other things from very loyal consumers or customers, and those issues of privacy and data protection has also come up. Now, how can a global brand adapt? And it is a matter of strategic thinking and then foresight. That's what I would couch it: strategic thinking and foresight. And what do I mean by strategic thinking? Strategic thinking is the ability to foresee and then to anticipate, because when you anticipate, you are ready, you are prepared for what is coming. And in that strategic thinking and foresight, it goes to when a global brand goes into agreement, for supply of raw materials, agreement for distribution, agreement for production, contracts of employment. Some clauses need to be tweaked and included in those agreements to be able to cover the issue of tariffs, the issue of trade nationalism, just to protect those global brands. Now, another issue that comes up in protecting, or what the global brands can do, to protect themselves in this trend, is the recurring issue that I will call thinking, strategic thinking. I use that word strategic thinking because don't stay global, glocalize, and I use it, glocalization. The products the logo, the motto or whatever of the product remains the same as a global brand. But delving to see how you can merge with the national identity of the place you find yourself. Globalization. Globalization is that concept where a global brand still have their cultural adaptability retained, the identity of their product, but the sources of these raw materials and how the products are presented are tailored to meet local tastes, local palates, local preferences. I give you, for instance, KFC in Nigeria. You may be surprised, KFC in Nigeria may be cooking amala. Now, it doesn't mean it's not KFC. You still see it, but the menus are not the same with what you have in KFC Algeria, KFC in Morocco, KFC in the United States, KFC in the UK. The same thing applies to Coca-Cola. We've heard of the news in recent time that the use of fructose, corn syrup, was changed to now adapt for cane sugar and any natural sweeteners in the US. Yes. So that's why you pick a bottle of Coke, you see the same label, everything, then you sip it, you just find that there is a little, shift in the taste, yes, or the flavor. That is, alignment. And then you see global brands now aligning, bringing introducing their product using the local language. You'll be surprised you go to an Arabic country like the UAE and you see a bottle of Coca-Cola and you see the Coke or the Coca-Cola label and then you see something twisted in Arabic. Just to let locals know that we are here for you. We understand the terrain, we understand the market here, and we identify with it. That way the global brands can navigate and beat this rising of a trade nationalism. Yes, thank you very much.
Thank you for your response, Sam. I would also say that one key thing these brands can do to show that they are local is conscious storytelling that lets the customers know that we see you, we see your identity and your experiences, and we understand them and we accept them, and we are offering you our products based on our understanding of your story. So
that's a very beautiful point. It reminds me to my childhood days while we're growing up. There's this FMCG company that took on the story of a local footballer that has gone global, and Papillo, but the name Papillo went viral, and I tell you, that brand sold like wildfire because, of course, we were keeping the streets clean. As little children, you need to get the sachets to get coin. So they have a silver coin and a gold coin. When you get the player in question, that's Papillo, you have a gold coin. And then when you get other Super Eagles members, you have a silver coin. It was very massive. So it's a very practical example of what that can be.
Yeah, if I can add to that, right? So for instance, when you talk about being local, right? There's a very popular, is also a new producing company, right? And for a very long time, their slogan was "Our milk," right? And as far as people could tell, that product was a Nigerian product, right? It was our milk, but in reality, it wasn't, right? But people identified with that. It was a strategy that they used to ship that product, and people purchased them, believing that this is ours, right? I think a company, not an FMCG company, but there's a tech company that produces all these smartwatches and headsets and what have you. And did I realize that they were not a Nigerian company? I was shocked because they use Nigerian celebrities, influencers to promote the brand. So my entire mindset was it's a Nigerian company. And that's some examples. Then if you talk about adapting your products to meet the taste of where you're currently at, right? He mentioned KFC, and it was an interesting point because KFC does suya flavored burgers, like they are chicken suya burger, right? And suya is like a Nigerian concept and is adapting to the Nigerian market just to expand their I think Coca-Cola did something similar, lychee in China, mango in India. Those are flavors that you don't have in Nigeria. Right? So that's thinking about where your consumers are at and meeting them there. So it tells the story that you're part of the country and, not just another foreigner looking to take advantage of their resources.
Thank you very much. And that leads me to my next question, which is for you. Where do you see opportunities for FMCG brands in this age of nationalism?
Okay. So I think if everyone is going national, right, then global brands, and I'm just putting this loosely, global brands can become national. And I'll tell you how, right? The idea of having an import-only model might need to be tweaked because, if you're importing from wherever when it comes to customs, you're going to have to pay the tariffs, right? But if you come within the country and you can either come in yourself, register a company, set up a structure, source your materials locally, produce within the country and then, distribute it there, right? Or you can come in the form of like a partnership, right? So you acquire maybe an existing company here in Nigeria that is doing something similar, right? And then you have them do the products here, so you don't have to incur the cost of shipping them, across and then paying tariffs, right? But all this would not mean anything if you don't have airtight contracts, right? That's that tariff resilient, so to speak, right? So they have leeway for people to be able to make adjustments when something unusual, because the idea of owning a business is being able to see, okay, I'm foreseeing this risk and this risk might be there for some time. So if tariffs are increasing now, chances are they might continue increasing. Of course, there's a chance that they may reduce eventually, right? But in the foreseeable future, you assume that they're going to go up, right? So rather than have a standard boilerplate contract that just caters for things as they are now, you might have to put a bit of a leeway, and that's where the legal experts come in. Right, to ensure that you're managing your supply chains properly, the contract does that, or distribution channels, and then that's in their treaties, like bilateral treaties for you to take advantage of. Like for instance, within Africa, we're talking about the Africa Continental Free Trade Zone, right? And if you're able to tap into that and create like regional structures within African markets that can supply, I think Chinese companies are doing something similar. Right. So when the tariff was at the peak, I mean, it's still high, but when the tensions were at the peak, you had Chinese companies supplying to persons within the Asian market, right? So that way you don't have to ship it across the sea and then suffer tariffs from other persons. And then trying to also see how you can expand your local base, right? You can try to catch more customers as you didn't know that were there before because you are trying to focus on expanding globally. Not that expanding globally is a bad thing, but these are some of the strategies you can adopt to ensure that your sales and your profit does not decline while still trying to figure out how to navigate these tariff waters.
Thank you so much. And we're coming to the end. So I have a final question, which is for both of you, but I will start with Marvis. So looking ahead, how do you think FMCG companies can position themselves to remain resilient and also competitive in this world where everyone is going local?
Okay, let me give this clear illustration. Every local manufacturer or brand is a potential global brand. And this is a message to both governments, people, the policymakers, as well as the regulators. The stick with which you treat other foreign entities or global brand within your territory also anticipates the same treatment or a similar treatment. The United States slept, woke up, and then started heaping tariffs on countries. And unfortunately, Nigeria suffered up to like 15%. Countries like Iraq, China, and the rest suffered as high as 30%, and some others. Those countries, in retrospect, or reciprocating what has happened, also attached a bit of tariffs to goods coming from the US. What it does is it makes everybody go local again. When a global brand exits a particular country and goes back to its own country, that global brand downsizes the areas of its impact or outreach and then goes back. And then the other local company producing in the country that has adopted the trade nationalism also becomes a local player in that local field. So that is why global brands, to stay afloat and also to match, has come up to devise many strategies to work out. One of them is leveraging technology. Now there are artificial intelligence tools that helps global brand to forecast, just like you have the weather forecast what will happen, and also to anticipate and then to prepare for it. We have a blockchain supply analysis using those artificial intelligence tools also that the FMCG companies and global branding employ to do that. Another thing is that they keep the identity and then they source locally, especially if they find out that sourcing locally is the major thing for them and it is a bit cost effective compared to if they're bringing in the goods or bringing in the tools for the production, bringing in the raw materials from outside. So they keep it local. Another thing is that it helps them also to partner. So the global brands can also go into partnership with local companies, local manufacturers, and then seed a part of their production as okay, like we are into brewing of alcoholic drinks, right? Okay, the buying of all that we need, the soho, the wheat, and the berries, all those ones that we need, let it be so compound out. We take care of that while we focus on the main thing. So that way there is diversification. There is diversification in their operations, and that way it helps them to cut costs. It helps them to cut costs because if you are going to tax them or you're going to impose tariff on them, they won't be the only one bearing those taxes and tariffs, of course. So if the meal is shared between many people, and let me use this imaginative example, and there is a poison, everybody will eat it and die with happiness, So unlike when the global brand is the only person doing the entire thing, then the whole burden is on it. So I think these are the ways that global brands can also stay. And another thing is also to look at what the community, right, is lacking. What we call, what's it called again? Community social responsibility, the CSR. And in this age we have the ESGs now, the environmental, social, and governance. So global brands can decide, so we look at what are the things that this community needs, we give it to them. Of course, you cannot help a community. You've offered employment to the locals there, trained people, and brought in expertise in different areas, and you've also helped to maintain the environment, and you comply to the regulatory provisions within there, and then from time to time you support certain policies coming up or even bringing solutions. I tell you, to be very, very hard for the host country to shut its eyes. And most times the host country may even go behind to support and say, don't let my name not be mentioned, I'm not a part of it. But you have our support because of the impact that has been made. So I think that way FMCG global brands can stay afloat. And not to forget the intellectual property protection, and tools that they also have to employ. Getting experts that know this thing, go for a market site. Imagine you see a brand like Adidas, and you have a face cow of Adidas, but you go to the Nigerian market, it's 500 naira. You already know what you're buying. You need nobody to tell you, yes, what you're buying. So the need to protect a brand from that intellectual property infringement can never be overemphasized. Thank you.
Okay, so Marvis said two things that caught my attention, right? And the first one is local brands are eventually going to go global. I mean, that's the goal, because where there is a demand for something, right? If you're operating within a particular market, after some time, your supply exceeds the demand, so you want to expand beyond there. And if your country is known to have protectionist policies, right, extreme ones anyway, then you might encounter the same, it translates to other people's countries as well. So even if everybody adopts the same stance, then everybody is stuck within their own territory and then you cannot expand. So it's a very interesting point, right? Then the other point that he made was, it's a long-term goal, right? You try and see how you can lobby a government wherever you're at. The world is largely commercial, as it is at this point in time. So if you're a significant presence in a country and, even though you're a global brand, but you're supporting government policies, making that country a better place, then most times governments tend to be willing to waive some taxes here and there on your behalf, or maybe see how they can bring the assessment down so that you can afford to stay in business, right? Then diversifying and sharing across several other companies, several other countries. You also mentioned that. I mentioned taking advantage of regional structures and bilateral treaties and agreements and what have you, right? Then in the short term, you might want to maybe seek some sort of external financing, right, that ensures that you maintain profitability while still trying to adapt, right? So that by the time we are hoping, that in the long term, if something is done, these tariffs might start to come down. And at that point in time, so because if you try to increase, there's only a certain level that you can increase your prices to. And if you're in the FMCG sector, someone else is there, ready to take your food, right? So you have to see how you can try and maintain the prices. You can maybe cut down on your input costs, source materials locally, like he said, or if you feel like it will negatively affect the standards, the premium for which your brand is known, right? So you can maybe look for external financing at the time just to soften the impact and hold out for a bit longer until when the prices, the tariff starts to come down. But regardless of whatever you're doing, it helps to have sound legal advice from whatever country you're operating in, so that you know how to navigate it and stay profitable while we are still battling with tariffs sectors.
Well, that's it for today. You've heard from our seasoned experts about the different things that affect FMCG brands and how tariff, volatility, and other concepts are beyond abstract concepts that you read in your book, but things that actually affect your shelves even in your local supermarket. That means that the next time you're reaching for a product and you're deciding if it's a local brand or global brand, make sure that these things are shaping your perspective. So if you have any questions for us or you need clarifications, you can always send that to the email address that is displayed below. And of course, make sure to subscribe so that the next time there is an update, you're the first to get it. And also like and share your comments with us. Thank you so much and see you next time.